So, there we go.
We are streaming live on the internet, so if you are a person who is shy or witness protection, now will be the time to find a mask.
The camera's pointing at us, not at you guys.
In the dark
Just
shadow.
us. It's in the dark shadow. I don't see any in here. So just letting you know, we are recording. So let's introduce ourselves, I guess.
Sure. Hi, I'm Audie.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Mark.
Kate.
And I'm Zach from the Zach Baxter channel. And so today we're talking about Game of Thrones. And we're basically going to go through a lot of our characters that are our favorites and our least favorite, our hated and our loved.
Expect a lot of debating, and feel free to take part in it. If you have anything to say at any point, please raise your hand. We will call on you.
This
it's
is
not
a discussion. This is like 50-50 here.
It's very open. Last night the whole room was yelling. So
Yeah, it got a little heated. That was
And
the
I'll
last
also
panel.
take stuff. I'll also take chats on our YouTube channel as well. So I may stop us at some point. All right. So our first character we have is Tyron.
Really?
Wow, that's the first thing I got. That's the first
Period.
thing.
We're supposed to sound like experts.
I'm
Man.
not the expert.
First
You guys
is
are-
Tyrese.
I will drink
Well,
that.
no, hang on. Before we even get to him, we must go ahead. If anyone wants to shout out who their favorite character is, and we can start the discussion from there.
Yes. Who are
Anyone.
your favorite characters? Anybody? Who? Jamie. I told you to put Jamie on the list because somebody was going to
Oh,
love
Jamie's
it.
not on the list?
He is now because I said to put him on the list.
Y'all can find
Yeah.
some more
Yes.
chairs.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Come on in.
Come on in, please.
Danny, great.
Yes. You're on? Oh, Drogon, yes. If you said you're on, I was going to ask you to leave.
Get your wooden crown and get out.
Davos Seaworth, the Onion Knight. I love the Onion Knight.
Okay, let's.
Guys, you are welcome to take a seat on the floor. We do not care.
Varys? Ooh, yeah.
There's the
Varys
spider.
has
Yeah, he's my favorite human.
Okay.
Nobody's for Littlefinger, huh? No
We got two
Littlefinger
seats in the
lovers?
front over here.
Yeah, there are a couple seats up
There's some
here.
seats up here if anybody wants to sit. One up here.
Snuggle in, guys. Okay.
Okay, so the
Yeah. Yeah.
chairs are coming. Okay, so the first one we heard was Jaime Lannister. Now, probably one of the most interesting things about Jaime is that, you know, when we do see him at the beginning of the story, he is kind of a douche. He pushes Bran out the window in the very first episode. But I think what is very interesting about him is that, I mean, you know, he has lived his entire life being known as the Kingslayer. He killed the man he was sworn to protect, but he only did it when, you know, the entire country was turning against him and when the Mad King Aerys II gave him the order to kill his own father. But, of course, no one really cared about that. All they cared was, oh, you're an oath breaker, Kingslayer. But I think
Ned Stark only cared about that because they did keep him as a King's Guard even after that. But I do think Ned Stark was a driving force.
A lot of people.
They do still call him.
They turn up their
Kingslayer,
nose to the Kingslayer. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Jaime's journey has really been a journey of redemption, right? He starts off as like, sleeping with his sister and pushing kids out the window.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah. Spoilers, guys.
And by the end, he's pledged. He's actually pledged to the Starks to protect, Sansa and Arya, which he never gets really to do, but he's certainly on a mission to do it.
Through Brienne, he's doing it.
And in the books, if you're a fan of the books, we know that Brienne and Jaime seem to be running around the lands doing something unknown that the books have dropped us off on them.
There will be some book spoilers in here. Most of it has been caught up with the show, so I doubt there's going to be anything huge.
But certainly in the show, ever since he came back to King's Landing after spending time with Catelyn Stark, he has been on a mission of saving people, not selfish.
I think it happened whenever he first got his hand cut off. I think that is when his story officially began to change into him sort of being...
Yes?
We got a comment from...
Yeah, well, I think what makes Jaime a really interesting character is that he has an arc, right?
Yes.
He has an arc that I can actually see concluding in a way, which, when it comes to the books and the show, some of it can be kind of nebulous. Like, Bran, what's going on with this guy? Like,
We will be discussing Brad ad nauseum ad infinitum.
I can see an ending in sight, and he has this redemption arc. The character's going somewhere, and I like it.
I think what I find most interesting about Jamie is for him having been portrayed as a villain in the beginning of the show and still continues sometimes to fall back into that villainy. I think it's really interesting that his fatal flaw is love. His only flaw is that he is in love with this horrible woman. Like, let's just forget that they're twins and all that's going on. This woman, right?
No big deal.
This woman, whom he is 100% devoted to his entire life, is sleeping with her weird little cousin like 2 weeks later after he's gone. And I think it's really tragic that he just loves too much, and every horrible thing that he ever does is because of love. I think that's great.
I also find it interesting, though, in terms of the world of Game of Thrones, they talk about, Jaime and Cersei are such a big secret and taboo, and yet it's the whole basis for the Targaryen line.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it's just so much of a taboo.
Well, I think that once the Targaryens fell, they were like, we're not doing that anymore because they all went crazy. So I think that was.
Well, that
part
wasn't
of-
too long ago, though.
No,
so,
no,
yeah.
that was all Robert. So, okay,
Okay.
who was our next character? Since
We had Daenerys called out.
we had
Yeah.
Dany. I mean, Kate.
I love her. She's awesome. And also, like, I'm excited. I think I've been rooting for her the whole time, and I'm ready for her to finally get back to Westeros and where she's going to land. Just, we all have been
Yeah.
Who
rewatching
thinks she's
it.
gonna land in Dragonstone?
Yeah,
Dragonstone.
Dragonstone.
I think so too.
Anybody think she's gonna land in Dorne? Dorners. We got Dorners.
Well, she already
Anybody think
has
she's
Dorne.
coming straight to King's Landing? Anybody? Nobody
No.
thinks she's going
No,
to
she has to
build-
prepare.
yeah.
But it's King's.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
If she goes to King's Landing,
Yeah.
she should be ready to fight immediately. And
Right.
she has a bunch of people on horses. They're not going to be able to swim across that
Yeah.
the Blackwater.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
We need more
Yeah.
chairs.
Chairs.
If possible.
Chairs if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And the great thing about Dany is that whenever we first see her, I mean, when we all saw that first episode, we looked at her and her brothers all feeling her up, and we're just like, ew, really? She's going to be this whiny, boring little character.
Her first image is literally just her staring wistfully out the window, and
I
I remember
don't
thinking,
want to
oh,
marry
God,
him."
Not that.
But she becomes so much stronger, and she becomes, as she slowly starts to realize, because her brother was the one who was supposed to be the king, and then after he died, she starts to realize that maybe she is the last Targaryen, and she is the rightful heir to the throne.
I also,
Kim just
I
checked
also,
into this too.
yeah, I
Well-
like that we so quickly get the payoff of like beginning. We think it's gonna be a whiny little girl, and then she very quickly is like, you know what? No, like I'm gonna do this right. I'm
She's
gonna
the
take
blood
over.
Of the dragon.
Yeah,
She's not some whining, simpering girl.
and so we didn't have to wait for that at all, which I
Yeah.
really like.
Well, and I have a question for everyone, because this is something that I actually didn't think of until I was talking with a lot of people here at Comicpalooza. How many people think Dany won't make it to the end of the series? She will die. Okay, I think more people.
I'm iffy.
Yeah, well, because it just even though it should have been obvious, more clear to me, like at the end of the season. But every time you come back to Ice and Fire, and the theory that I developed this weekend was that Jon is the son of Ice and Fire, and that I think ultimately Dany will probably join forces with him, and they'll defeat Cersei, and God help us, they'll defeat the Night King. But or what if he's really supposed to be called? But in the end, she will not make it because he will be the sole survivor.
Well, and in the last season, Dario had a line that he said to her when they were heading back to Meereen with the Dothraki. He said, "You were not meant to sit on the throne. You are a conqueror." And so it was just one little tiny line in there that kind of makes you think that, sure, she might go over and conquer Westeros and take over the Seven Kingdoms, but does that necessarily mean that she will rule? Because as we've seen with a lot of the characters who have become king and whatnot, there are those who are really great at fighting the war to win the throne, but they're not necessarily the best political people to run the country.
Well, and as we've also seen, and mentioned amongst ourselves many times, Dany has not always been the best ruler.
I don't think she did an amazing job in Meereen. I think that Tyrion came in and did his best to fix Meereen. But I think her attempt at staying there and ruling was not as strong as she hoped to have been.
Well,
She
she
didn't
had no
bring
practice
everybody
at it,
together.
but-
I know, I agree. I just don't feel like she's proven herself.
she's learned. Well, speaking of Tyrion, let's move on to Tyrion.
Who's a Tyrion lover? Who loves Tyrion?
Everyone.
Who doesn't love Tyrion? This guy.
They're like three angry faces.
People that love shopping.
Oh,
Joffrey because I like to
you
hate
need to
him.
drink.
He was fun to hate.
Well, yeah, Joffrey's definitely in the love to hate category.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we will talk about our most hated characters.
Yeah, we're gonna do that as well.
In a moment. But yes, Tyrion he starts off from right away. The first time you see him, you fall instantly in love with him. He's witty, he's humorous, and sure, he's from one of the most despised families in the land. Well, and I think my favorite thing about Tyrion is that, sure, what he lacks in stature, he makes up for with his mouth, pretty much. He can talk his way out of anything. That has been his one saving grace. No matter what predicament he finds himself in, he just starts talking, and bam, he's
Who
good
here
to go.
thinks Tyrion is a Targaryen?
It's
Okay.
a popular theory online.
Yeah. We've been
Conspiracy
discussing that a
Well,
lot.
why don't we just take a moment to talk about that theory?
Yeah, talk
Okay,
about it.
well, because actually in this other book, it is not part of the
Anybody read
novels.
this?
A team of writers got with George Martin, and they created pretty much, it's the world of Ice and Fire. Go find it in your bookstore. It's awesome. Pretty much, it is a history of all of Westeros, from the Dawn Age to the Doom of Valyria to the coming of the First Men and the Andals and the Targaryens' rule, and it goes into a lot of backstory before the story of Game of Thrones begins. And one of the things it talks about is when King Aerys, the Mad King, first came into power, Tywin Lannister was his hand, and for 10 years they had a good, long, prosperous...
In a seat, and if not, I have to close off the room, so y'all can go sit a little bit over there. I can't get John any more chairs.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But everybody needs to be in a seat, or over there, or right here.
Okay.
And this-
Okay. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
So
Bye,
guys,
Kim.
thank you. So there's room over here, guys.
Yeah, if y'all want to like sit on the floor.
Sorry, we love you. We really do love you.
We will
Yeah.
have another Game of Thrones panel at 6
o'clock.
as well. We're going to be discussing future predictions.
Okay. And anyway, so there was a period of time when King Aerys and Tywin Lannister went to Casterly Rock, and the Mad King was there with Tywin's wife, Joanna. And there were lots of rumors that the Mad King loved to have his way with pretty ladies. And then also, so there was a good time period. And then after that time period, right before Tyrion was born, suddenly the Mad King and Tywin had a huge falling out and pretty much almost brought the country to war over their hate for each other.
But we don't know why. That's all they tell us.
It's never specified. But then there's also, in the book, Tyrion is born with one green eye, which all Lannisters have green eyes and gold hair, and he has one purple eye, which all the Targaryens have purple eyes and silver hair. And would you like to talk about the mother theory?
The mother.
All the
theory?
mothers have died.
Oh yeah. So technically, if we think that Jon, I mean, obviously we know Jon is a Targaryen. That's been proven. Obviously, Dany is a Targaryen. So if we go with that, then and they're the three heads of the dragon. Then all three heads of the dragon killed their mothers in childbirth. Because Dany's mom died the night she was born. Obviously, we saw Lyanna die, and we know that Tyrion killed his mom when she came out. So I think that's a pretty telling.
Yeah, I mean that's why Cersei hates him. I mean that's why Cersei hates Tyrion so much,
Yeah.
is because she blames him for her mother's death.
So I feel like that's a pretty big bit of information
On
about
the
them.
show.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is one of the big theories out there, and we're hoping that maybe this next
So then
season it will
The
be
Mad
proven.
King is his. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
The
so-
Mad
Mad
King
King
is
is his
Tyrion's
father. Tyrion's father.
So then, if we're thinking about that, then who would technically be? Wouldn't it be Tyrion that would have the right
Yeah.
over Jon? Because Jon is
Well,
the
well,
son of Rhaegar.
John is Rhaegar's son.
No, she said no, ma'am.
Firstborn son.
Oh, yes. That's
Yeah, Rhaegar would have been older than Tyrion.
Rhaegar is older than Tyrion.
He would be over Daenerys though.
I don't think he's a Targaryen.
Yes.
You have, this is in the book, you had Tywin's sister told Tywin, I can't remember her name, she was married in the books to the, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
but she told him that out of all his children, his true child, because of the way he strategically dated, and how he could, like how he went against King's Landing and how he went against that Tyrion was his real son. That was the child that was most likely. How you he didn't talk for like 6 months because it pissed him off. But it's like strategically how he can fix things, how he's like Tyrant. He's
And I do think that the amount of emphasis that they put on the relationship between Tywin and Tyrion and whether he's a son. I mean, some of the last few words that Tywin says to him on the toilet are, you're not my son.
He said, "You're no son of mine."
You're no son of mine. And then he has another line in the show where he says, what is it?
Pretty much.
I can't prove that you're not
Yeah,
mine.
he said, I only allow you to bear the Lannister name because I cannot prove that you are not mine.
So I think maybe, personally, it's just my opinion, I have nothing to base this on, but I think it's actually misdirection. I think that they bring you back and forth. They're like, he is his son, he's not his son, he is his son, so that in the end, because I can't imagine anybody else who is. And when they gave us that dragon scene with Tyrion in this last season, I was like, I'm done. This is it. It's gotta be it.
Yes.
That dragon laughed.
That dragon knew what was up.
When he was, saying, please don't eat the elk. If you listen carefully, that dragon.
We're gonna go back and watch
Go
that.
back.
And I also, sorry, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I don't think, like, if Tyrion's a Targaryen, I don't think you'll ever learn about it. I don't think you'll ever know. I think it'll just be like a hidden fact. I don't think it's like, so when George wrote Tyrion, George has said before, like, that's himself. That he's written. He said, like, that's the most character that's like him. And when I see, like, George's background, I think he grew up in, like, the Bronx or something. Like, he's a poor kid who, like, talked about how much he loved nickels because they were worth so much to him, Like, there's this value in, like, in thrift and all these things you see in Tyrion. And George never got this moment, I think, where he was like, and I'm a Targaryen, too. Just a little bit too, like, he's all these things. He's everything except he's ugly. But, I think it's too perfect of a character development for him, and it just doesn't feel like something that would drive that character in. So if he is a Targaryen, he'll never learn about it, I don't think.
I have to see him on a dragon, man.
I mean,
gotta.
that might.
We'll get there. All right. What do you have?
We have a question from YouTube. YouTube wants to know, Dimitri Devil wants to know, do you think that the creators of the show will not choose one of the obvious people, Jon, Daenerys,
Tyrion. So good.
to sit, I can't say that name, to sit on the throne.
With you.
For example, an Arya or a Gendry duo would surprise many people. So they're going to go with a non-obvious selection, or are they going to give us what we want to see?
Well, I don't know.
I think that would be too out of left field. Like, I think there have to be some subtle clues leading up to who the three heads of the dragon. Yeah.
Yes.
But I do kind of.
Sorry. No.
Yeah,
We don't think so.
No.
You're right.
But when you talk about if Tyrion is a Targaryen, he'll never know. I think that brings me around to your question earlier. Why is Bran important? At this point, I think Bran's only purpose is to reveal that Jon is the son of Lyanna and Rhaegar, because he's the only one who knows that's alive.
So let's go to Bran. We just went to Bran.
But then, I'm sorry, what?
Hal Reed.
Howland Reed is still alive.
Yeah.
Howland Reed is still alive. We haven't seen him, but he's around.
Yeah. Well, then there is the other theory about that Bran may be the third head of the dragon because of him being able to warg into other animals. He might possibly warg into a dragon because the three-eyed raven told him, "You will never walk again, but you will fly." Ooh. So I mean that's another one of the theories, but as of right now, we don't have any way to.
It could also just mean he's going to go into a bird like that guy.
There's actually something really interesting with that. I never thought about that, but I think that all these heads of the dragon also might have a Valyrian steel sword as well. And Jon's easy, Daenerys can pick one up, but how the heck does Bran get something like that? And if you see, there's a new video that came out from that alt ship next dude, or whatever his name is. He makes the popular YouTube movies. Apparently, Black Raven, or what you could call him, Three-Eyed Crow, he goes on and he has through the line he would have a sword in his cave that he's in. And in the show, right before Mira runs out of there, it's so small. She picks up the sword in the corner and just bolts out. And I never noticed that.
Yeah, I did see that.
Are we taking notes on these things?
Right,
We got a video of it.
He's gonna run the panel.
I gotta look that up now.
Actually, I do think it's interesting talking, because we were talking about this in the other panel, and I think it's interesting with Bran, where he's going to go and what he's going to do. I don't think Bran's only purpose is to tell Jon who he is. I think that Bran
He's a mailman,
is
that's all he is.
the center of this whole story. As much as in the first 3 seasons we were like, oh God, another Bran scene, they're traveling.
Well, because one of the first chapters in the book is of Bran.
And I think that what's really important, and the single most important moment that occurred in season 6 was the moment that he lost the protective magic around him. When the Night's King grabbed him, when he comes and attacks them over there underneath the weirwood tree, the first thing the Night King does is puts his hand on the ground and he cracks the ice around them. And I think that because Bran lost that protection, if Bran crosses the wall will lose all of its magical protection.
Who believes that the wall will come down next season?
I had to take 10 jello shots last season because it didn't. Okay, did they even do a horn in the show?
But that was it. That was the only time
Oh, it was just visually
They
there.
did show it in there?
Yeah, when he
Oh, we missed that.
Well, then they have to go all the way back there to get it.
Well, for those of you who don't know, this is not a big spoiler in the books. There is a horn of winter in the books, which is a mythical horn that we have not seen, we have not touched, we have not smelled. It's supposed to be somewhere in the land of always winter, and it's supposed to have the power to bring down the wall.
And it also smells like vanilla, interestingly. Yeah.
There's a scene with actual horns that Sam picked up.
See,
Yeah, that's what she's
I
talking
think that's what they're talking
about,
about, but we totally missed that there was a horn in that scene.
Or it was so long ago we forgot about it.
We were drinking a lot.
Yeah,
But
Nights of the Drunk Watch. So yes,
He does, yes he does. That was an
Sam.
awesome scene, Sam.
right, well, see, that's what I was going to mention is because he talked about who, the guy behind you talked about who has what. So we know that we have Valyrian steel sword that Jon has, but in the books, Sam's storyline takes him to Old Town, and he sends a bunch of people off to go connect with Daenerys. And what doesn't happen in the books, but has happened in the show, is that he picks up that sword. So that could be a sword that's going to Daenerys if she needs. But I also think if Daenerys goes to Dragonstone, which is covered in obsidian, she may not need a Valyrian steel sword. She may end up with an obsidian weapon too. But she has 2 tracks now. If Sam is going to get connected to her in any way, because that's what the books seem to be doing, he now has a Valyrian steel sword, but she also has a whole island of
I
White
think
Walker
I think
kill stuff.
Sam and Tyrion are gearing up to be the liaison between Dany and Jon, because both of those characters are united through those 2 people.
Yeah.
So if Sam meets Dany, that's a liaison, and then Tyrion already knows Jon. He already knows Dany. I think he's going to be the connection between the 2. Or Davos. Davos is a smart man. He's so smart. He's
So I'm behind. I don't know how many characters we got to. So are we on?
Well,
Let's move to Jon because we had like 30 minutes left. So
okay.
let's move to Jon.
Yeah, right. Well, I do have a couple questions instead
Okay,
of just
go for it.
specific characters. As I was rewatching the series and preparing for this panel,
Yeah, they watched all 6 seasons preparing for you guys. So.
yeah, I have
a struggle.
I have a 29-page outline of the whole series that I typed. Anyway, I noticed something and I thought it would be a fun discussion. Off the top of your head, does anyone know which character out of the whole series kills the most people?
directly kills. Not
Yeah.
gives the
Yeah,
order,
talking about
in
the
the
show.
show?
Not gives the order. Not
Within
lets
the
other people
story,
do it.
within the space of this particular story, not in the past. Not saying, "Oh, I command my army to go out and kill all these people." Yeah.
That's your idea.
Does anyone have any guesses of who is the character who directly kills the most people?
That's something.
He does kill a lot.
He
but
does kill a lot, but I don't think.
I'd say Arya Stark.
Arya hasn't killed that many. She's killed a couple.
She's killed at least
What about, like,
2.
the Hound and the
3.
Mountain? They're just like crushing skulls.
4. I'm remembering all of Arya's death now.
We've got the Hound.
He does kill a lot.
He does kill a lot, but
Did
not
you
as
tally
many
all
as
them
this
together?
No,
Did you watch it?
It's actually it's the answer when he tells you the answer is actually fairly obvious.
It should be better.
That's close.
Embarrassing.
It should be.
Well, maybe, but not. I mean, we don't know about what exactly he did in the
Not a
past.
scientific poll, but
Dany, because she killed the cows, right? That's what you're thinking. So tell
But
him,
there were
Mark.
only about
Oh,
10
yeah.
people in
Yeah.
there.
Tell
So
him, Mark.
the answer that I came up with is Bronn. During the Battle of the Blackwater, he fired the arrow that set afire at least 20 ships, which had to have had at least 100 people on each. No, it's
But
not
it
a
is
trick
directly.
question.
He directly kills them.
No, so he had to have killed at least 2,000 people with a single arrow.
I really like Braun.
I'm drinking for Braun.
We'll drink for Bronn.
Drink for Bronn.
Yes.
Thank you, Bronn.
Yeah, she.
But
well,
she did not
yeah,
directly
but there
go
probably
and
wasn't
light
that
the
many people.
candle.
If you're going to use that as your guide,
Yeah.
Yes, well then it was probably Qyburn that did that, and yes, that is. I don't think though that was his.
because Cersei gave the order.
But I don't think it was as many people as were out in the
Blackwater Bay.
Yes, but that is.
That was an awesome scene. though.
But
that music.
But then I would, but I would say, if you do that way, that was in a war. But I would say Arya. If you're going to think about who's killed the most people, face to face,
Hand-to-hand combat.
hand to hand, take them.
Hand-to-hand
Arya.
combat, Grey Worm, Barristan.
Well, no, but like character to character, not just
Like
random guys with gold masks.
I mean, you're going off of what named characters killed the most named characters, probably.
Yeah.
And that is probably
I thought that was a fun little tidbit when he told me, because I guessed all of these guesses.
Uh.
And then
It was just I was watching and I noticed and I went, oh, okay. Anyway, okay. So the next question I have, this is not a right or wrong. It's just
That's
an
not
open
cool.
discussion. Which character do you think is best at playing the game?
The Game of Thrones.
Varys.
Varys.
Okay, all right. So
No Littlefinger love in here. Nobody's got love for Littlefinger.
Well, I think when it comes to behind-the-scenes machinations, it may be a showdown between Varys and Littlefinger in the
Well,
end.
Varys
Yeah.
and Littlefinger are literally the opposing forces in this show. Yeah, Littlefinger from the very beginning set up the whole war with the murder of Jon Arryn, etc. At the same time that he is setting up this murder and the fall of House Stark, Varys is trying to work on the rise of House Targaryen. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you watch it carefully, Varys set up the marriage between Khal Drogo and Dany through Illyrio. So everything that happens overseas is all Varys. That's
But-
all him.
Because there's even more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
There's
but
characters,
exactly.
Targaryen
but don't
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
forget though that Varys says that his interests are in that of the
The
country,
realm.
the realm, not the Targaryens. So whereas
Yes.
Littlefinger's interest is in Littlefinger.
Yes, and and Littlefinger, I think it was also interesting rewatching and noticing. Yes, we all now know that he was the one who told Lysa to poison Jon Arryn, and that's what set off the entire story. But then even little things here and there, like when Ned Stark came and he was handed the king, and him and Robert got in a fight. Ned tried to take his daughters and leave King's Landing, but Littlefinger came in and he said, "Wait, I have information about Jon Arryn's death. Come with me to this brothel," and he prevented him from leaving. He told Catelyn that the dagger that they tried to kill Bran with belonged to Tyrion, and so Catelyn arrested Tyrion and started a whole war.
And he had definitely had a big hand in the pie of murdering Joffrey. Like,
He orchestrated that.
that whole thing.
He
And
orchestrated the marriage between Sansa and Ramsay.
That
like-
was the worst.
No.
Was that not the worst ever?
Well, and that might have been the most unexpected conflation of stories.
Well, and you had an interesting theory about how his
So, all right. So here's my theory. Because first of all, how many people, our hearts are breaking because Lady Stoneheart is not a part of the television series.
books.
So,
book
if
readers.
you don't read the books, you don't know her. So, Lady Stoneheart. Anyway,
We
but
won't
so
tell
for
you.
those of you who do know the books, see, I feel like where Sansa was at the end of the books, and when she comes down from the Eyrie, it's like, how does she get to where she is at the end of season 6? And my theory is, well, first of all, they conflated her with this Jane Poole character who married Ramsay in the books, and she had her whole marriage to Ramsay that makes her this vengeful person. I mean, when she sicked the dogs on Ramsay, that was vengeance,
That
right?
felt good.
I felt
And,
good.
Yeah,
I drank
that
a
was
lot.
good.
We applauded.
So and it may be in a convoluted way, but so I feel like for those of us who are missing Lady Stoneheart, I feel like Sansa's storyline has been conflated with hers, that Sansa's becoming the Stark of vengeance. Because every time in the books, you think Sansa is going to turn and she's going to become a game player, a real game player. Like she learned everything in King's Landing that you need from Cersei and from Joffrey. she falls apart and doesn't do that in the books.
It's
But in the show, she really had to turn. She was still a little, wimpy when coming down to the area. But then she had her experience with Ramsay, and so I think she's becoming Lady Stark Vengeance, which is replacing Lady Stoneheart.
And the other thing you were talking about was also the fact that this is the first time that a plan of Littlefinger's has failed. I don't think that.
Yes, because when
directly,
when he was in Winterfell with Sansa, he told Sansa, "You're going to marry Ramsay, and it'll be fine. You can control him. It'll be good. And then Stannis is going to take Winterfell, and he's going to rescue you, and all will be well." And then he left to go to King's Landing and missed everything else that happened. I think that was the very first time that his plans did not go
and then
as he
beyond
expected.
that was the King in the North. I think he expected Sansa to be first in line.
Sansa to rise as
to be
rise
Wardeness of
Lady
the
Stark.
North.
That
instead-
episode had so many stares across the room. It's like, what does that mean? What are they mind melding to each other?
I don't like it.
But
I'm
at
not
the
sure
same
I don't
time,
like it.
when they declared Jon King of the North, I was a little disappointed because they didn't even bother changing the dialogue from when they declared Robb the King of the North. I was like, this is the exact same scene, and we all know how that turned out.
Lyanna Mormont is MVP of the whole battle.
Yes.
She's the best.
But I do think Sansa's storyline in the television series is, she's becoming the Sansa that I always wanted in the books.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, if it keeps going the way it's going, she's going to be she might be Peter Baelish's undoing.
But unlike
because she's
Dany,
got
it
his
took
number.
so
She's got his
long.
number. But he seems to always have a backup plan. But at the moment, she's got his number.
I want him to fail miserably.
Littlefinger's one fatal flaw though is I was just saying that Varys has no weaknesses because there's nothing he loves.
I know.
Other than I guess the realm.
Yeah.
Littlefinger loved Cat and he loves Sansa.
Yeah.
So that might be the one thing that's.
I don't know that she loves them as much as his own status in their eyes. I think in that moment where she said he's just. I think he loved her until the moment she said he's just a boy. And during the battle between him and Brandon Stark.
Or maybe his hoping to rise up to, he says he wants to be on the Iron Throne, but come on, really, that's not going to happen. But I think maybe the reason he was aspiring to that was because maybe then Catelyn would have loved him. Maybe then Sansa would love him.
And his fatal flaw could be that it was his obsession with Catelyn, which is now transferred to Sansa. Now that Catelyn's gone.
I still ship it.
I'm into it.
Loves himself.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I don't think there's a whole lot of room for other people, but I do think he loved her once. I do. Okay, what do we got next?
Well, actually, we were talking about who is best at the game. The one that, as I was rewatching, one of my favorites at playing the game is Marjorie.
Yeah.
You see her.
I mean, she lost.
She lost only
She
because
played hard.
Only because they would not let her out of the room. She was the only one that was like, something is wrong. We need to leave. But from the very beginning, first she was married to Renly, and she knew he was a homosexual, but she was like, whatever, I'm still a queen. And
We'll
then
bring my brother in, it's fine.
Yeah.
and then when he died and she was betrothed to Joffrey, I think one of the best things was when she had that scene with Joffrey where she's like, oh, I'm just a woman. I don't know of these things. Oh, this crossbow. How exciting is it to pull your finger here and then watch someone die over there? She always knew exactly what to say.
And you can almost
It was Tommen.
Yes.
Tommen, oh, let's play with Sir Pounce. Let's play with Sir Pounce.
Yeah.
I love Lady Olenna.
Yeah, she had the best teacher.
Her son was, he was a little simple man. He had
Right. Mace Tyrell.
Sorry, Finn Jones. He's downstairs.
young on how you play the game. I love the way you're going. When I
Yes.
saw him ship at the end, I was like,
Yes.
I know. Fire and blood, baby. Fire and blood.
She'll have a lot to teach Dany if she gets a chance to say anything.
Yeah, and I like that, with Marjorie, you could just see her do it. Like, you could see her change
Well,
instantly,
especially
and kind of
towards the
assess
end.
it and be like, okay, no, I got to do this now, or I have
At-
to,
Yeah, when she was arrested and she was speaking with the High Sparrow, and oh my gosh, we had to drink every time the High Sparrow would monologue.
That damn bench That one
The
more
bench where
scene
horrible
and that
things
damn
happen.
bench.
The monologue bench.
But even then, she knew exactly what to say to him, and I'm sure also. And here was another question I had: was that she started telling the High Sparrow what she knew he needed to hear, like, "Oh, I beg for forgiveness. Oh, I will pray, and I will be good." But if she had known that Jaime was leading the Tyrell army up to the Sept to come and save her and Loras, would she have said what she did? And what they pretty much did is she went and persuaded Tommen to join the Faith in the Crown, giving the Sparrows ultimate power. So
Until Cersei took care of that.
Because she thought that would get her out of the Sept, and once she was out of the Sept, she could.
I think it's really interesting in terms of development. For the first 3 seasons, the show and the books really got a lot of flack for their treatment of women. There was a lot of violence, sexual violence, a lot of beatings. Right. But I think that what it's done really interestingly is it's brought us from the original woman in a fantasy to something wholly different. Everywhere in Westeros and Essos now, women are in charge. Jon is the last man standing, and you're on Crow's Eye, but we don't talk about him.
They're not strong leaders.
No, but I think Dany is. I think Dany could be.
Said she butchered.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Dany has
Not
a little
necessarily.
mad queen in
She's a
her
bad
as well.
governor. She's a great leader, but a bad
She's a great
manager.
conqueror.
She's a great conqueror.
But now that
She can win the
Tyrion,
election,
now
but
that
then she
Tyrion
can't.
is her hand, she has Tyrion to guide her, which I
That will
think will
definitely
be a really good thing.
So she needs a man to help her.
That's true. That's true.
Well, all of her other advisors were men.
That is not true of all women only.
And it doesn't have to be a man. It could. Queen of Thorns is coming in.
Yeah, we've got
She'll
Queen
have
of
her
Thorns
own,
back there.
her
She's
own thoughts.
Yes.
But it's this interesting side note for me, just because we're talking about Marjorie. So Marjorie was played by Natalie Dormer, who I can never remember, so I looked her up. I always found it interesting, just in terms of Hollywood and whatnot. Natalie Dormer's 2 biggest roles on television were Marjorie Tyrell and Anne Boleyn in The Tudors, and I thought their storylines are very similar.
Trying to
the
woo
way-
the king.
especially the way that Marjorie is taken down. It's like with all the affairs and that she may or may not have even had. But I just think it's an interesting tidbit.
Maybe she
So
has
that's
like a
my tidbit.
schemy face.
Right.
Maybe there's she's a schemer. Let's
Cast her as
cast
a
her.
schemer.
And actually, George Martin had a really good quote. He was being interviewed. I think he said this. Was that? Well, I'm not.
Don't quote him.
It doesn't matter. So someone asked him, like, well, how do you write women characters so well? And he said, well, when I write women characters, I like to treat them as, what's the word? Human. I don't know what answer they were expecting him to
That's
give.
fair.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer. I do think it's awesome to see the women that were so meek in the beginning come into their own. Whether they become great leaders or not, we'll be right with you. Whether they become great leaders or not, I do think that they are coming into power. I don't think that they're in submissive roles anymore.
I had
And
also
I
forgotten
think
about
that's
the
good.
Yara Dany
That was the greatest ever. I ship it.
We
Yes,
were
ma'am. What
super
did you
into
have?
I was gonna say, like, with Dany, she is, as everyone has said, a great conqueror, but we all know it's easy to take over something, but running stuff is a totally
Yes.
different skill set. And
We're
she's
learning that.
never been educated to do that. She doesn't know that to be where Tyrion comes in with his experience, not his walk from her.
Yes. Well, and from the beginning, when she first started trying to build up her army and everything to go conquer Westeros, everyone, like the people in Karth, were saying, well, who's going to support your claim once you get there? And she said, oh, well, the common people will flock to me once they hear I've returned. And, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? But now she does have a good chance of the common people flocking to her now that they say, well, we can have Daenerys or we can have Cersei Lannister.
Cersei, which Lannister?
Who is, let's talk about that, about Cersei.
All right, so
my-
on to the characters we love to hate with 20 minutes to
Yeah,
go.
I think these are part of our characters we hate.
Okay,
but
yes,
love.
we're going to move on to the characters that we love to hate. And, well, there's people like Ramsay and Joffrey. Well, sure, you hate them, but you're just annoyed by them. Whereas Cersei, like, I can say, honestly, I love to hate her. Because just watching her is just still so fascinating
So
because
good at doing what she does.
One of our drinking games is also one of our rules is whenever anyone's plotting, so she comes on the screen and we're just like,
just
all
like-
right.
wait, well, we also have to drink when a character is drinking, and Cersei always has wine in her hand.
I found it interesting. You know, when we watched the finale, and you know, you have a reaction video live stream channel, that when she blew up the Sept of Baelor, we cheered because it was such an awesome moment. Yes.
I don't know if that was
we didn't
cheering.
wanna-
I was just screaming very loudly.
But anyway,
throwing green
there was
jello
a cheer went up, you know, and people in the internet were just shocked that we would not be like, I don't know, tearing our clothes and because it's like it was the
Gnashing of
most.
teeth.
I didn't expect that to
It was a
happen,
really victorious moment
until they
for
started revealing it to us slowly, and it was such an awesome moment. And yes,
Plus
I
that
really wanted
music.
Marjorie to be around. Marjorie is also one of my favorite characters, but
I was hoping that still in that last minute she would just burst through them and she would have gotten out of
She'd be
there.
like,
Everyone
"Screw
else
y'all,
would
I'm
have
outta
died,
here."
but
Well, she
Even
first.
watching it
well,
again,
her
I had
her
a
fatal
slight
flaw
hope.
would be her brother, I guess.
Yeah, I had a slight hope that she was gonna get out of there, and then I watched it. I was like, no.
Nope.
No.
But yes.
What about Pycelle?
Pycelle is dead. Ne'er shall we speak of him again. That guy.
No, but I mean, yeah. Well, I thought it was very interesting. Actually, there was a deleted scene that is in the on one of the DVDs. I can't remember what season it is. I think maybe 3. Yes, between Tywin and Pycelle, where there was a brief moment that you saw, but it's played up more in that where you find out that Pycelle is all. Oh, I'm old, I can't do anything. Where you find out Tywin looks at him, he says, drop the act. And he stands up straight, and then you find out that him acting old and ignorant is a complete act.
Well, we saw that in the
see
show.
that after
Yes,
he sleeps
yeah,
in the
yeah, but
bed.
it was a very brief
That poor
moment.
more than
It
a
was-
Well, yeah, we
Okay.
saw the show when he was in the brothel, and then he gets all dressed, and he's like, and
Ooh.
I'm old.
So yes, I mean, it's very interesting, but yes, he is
Actually,
backstabbing.
I want to take a poll since we were just finished talking about Cersei. Who thinks Cersei is going to survive season 8?
Episode
7.
1, season 8.
Season 7.
No. There,
Season 7.
She will be the finale of the season, I think. Her death.
You think she's going to survive season 7 into season 8?
Season 8.
Yeah.
I think she'll definitely die before the end of this next season.
So my personal theory on that, and I'm sure we're going to talk more
Episode
about the
9, when
theories
they're
later.
done. 6, episode 6.
But my personal theory is that we've already seen her become the Mad Queen. So I think Dany is going to come to King's Landing. I think she's going to lay siege to King's Landing. I think Cersei's going to react the same way as the Mad King did, which is burn them all. And I think Jaime's going to react the same way as he did originally. And I think he's going to go down with her because they're going to go out the same way they came in. And in the books, they talk about the prophecy. Yes, the prophecy that they show in the show about her children dying, there's another part to that. And the other part is you will be killed by your younger brother. Well, Jaime and she always thinks it's Tyrion. That's part of the reason why she hates him so much is because she believes he's the one that's going to kill her. But Jaime is her younger brother as well. She was born first. So I think that's going to be Cersei's end. That's just my theory.
But I just think since they're taking one season and dividing it into 2, it's really season 7.1.2.
No, it's
That-
14 episodes.
The first half, which is season 7, will be to take care of Cersei, and the second half, which is season 8, will be to take care of the Wall.
Yeah.
Before we're not done. A quick commercial break.
Stop calling it
on your
commercial break.
phone, there is a Comicpalooza app. Comicpalooza 2017.
Especially an iPhone.
And on iPhone, there's a way to rate us. If you could please, before we finish, we have 15 minutes left. We got tons to talk about still. Rate us 1 to 5 stars. Leave a comment. Tell us how we're doing. Let the con know that we are either a good panel
Or a bad
or a
one.
bad panel. Okay? Hope we're the good ones. And then also, we have a fan table downstairs on number 3752. We are all there all day, so if you want to continue this conversation and geek out with us, we have maps, all kinds of
Yes.
things in our
So
booth.
much
We can go
stuff.
through and books. Come visit us at our table, and we have flyers with the number on it.
And we've got another panel coming up at 4:30, which is our Walking Dead panel.
And then we're doing another Game of Thrones panel at 6 o'clock.
That
And
one will be based on theories for the future.
yes,
right?
yeah, that's we're going to at 6 o'clock. We're going to be discussing where all of our characters left off and discuss future predictions and theories.
And back to this panel.
Okay,
All right, now we're
all right,
here.
we still have 15 minutes.
So
Yeah.
what else do we have to talk
So
about?
seriously, Joffrey. Everyone loved to hate Joffrey, right?
Yeah, he did. Whatever.
Okay, actually, I
We
will
did talk
say,
about him.
well, yes, Joffrey and Ramsay are the obvious choices for most hated
I
character.
hated Ramsay.
My
That was the one I despised.
well, cause see, it was different. Here's the difference between Joffrey and Ramsay. Joffrey was, once he became king, he's like, I have ultimate power. I can just do whatever I want. He was so just random and, oh, I'm gonna have your tongue cut out. Oh, I want you beaten. Oh, I'm gonna shoot you with an arrow.
He was Caligula.
Yeah. Whereas Ramsay planned it
Yes,
out. Ramsay,
yes.
like he did to Theon, he spent months and months calculating and literally
Turning
broke
screw,
him.
Just keep. Ugh.
But I would say my most hated character in the entire series is Ollie.
Why?
We had a hard time with that
Poor
one
twisted
because
Ollie.
we feel bad for Ollie.
Okay, I mean, yes,
But
it
why?
is sad. Okay, there he was living his happy little life on a farm, and then the wildlings, the Finns specifically, which are different from the other regular
Wildlings are
wildlings.
wildlings
But
in their eyes.
Egret killed his
Yeah,
father.
Egret killed his
Egret
father.
fired the arrow
Did she?
that killed his
Well,
father.
okay, yes, and it is very sad
And then
that
Ramsay.
his family was brutally murdered, but then he comes and
Get over it, kid. Get over it.
Hasn't been brutally murdered.
well, that was the thing is that everyone's has, and he, but
Eaten, but first murdered, then eaten.
well, okay, so yes,
Technicality.
he killed Egret, but we understand his reasoning for killing Egret. They were in a battle, they were being attacked, and he thought he was doing good, but he did kill one of our loved characters. But then to go and kill Jon as well, and it wasn't just that, it was then in the next season, it was that look on his face. He was just sitting there, he just go,
He wasn't sorry. He was
Yeah.
not sorry.
he just had this look on his
I had way more compassion and
face,
love for
it's-
Alistair Thorne than I ever did for Ollie.
yeah. Well, yes, and well, because Alistair
Alistair
Thorne,
Thorne
I'm sorry?
really thought he was doing his duty.
He saw his parents eaten,
I know.
and he went to the wall, and they were supposed to fight against the wild things. And he was a child who had been traumatized, and he was easily fooled because Alistair Thorne was screaming with his mom taking him down.
Yes.
He didn't have a life experience. I never understood the Ollie hate.
Hashtag Ollie
Yes.
hate.
It's okay. You don't all have to agree with me. That's just my personal thing. But
I like Alistair Thorne.
yes, he
I actually like Alistair Thorne. I think that everything that he's... So first of all, he was loyal to the Mad King. That's why he got sent to the Night's Watch, because he stayed loyal to the Mad King. And he is this amazing trainer. I mean, he's not all hugs and kisses, but he wants to turn them all into good warriors. He wants to fight for the wall. He believes in what he's doing, and he stays true to that belief all the way until his death.
Which is probably,
I think it makes him
his
morally
tragic
character.
flaw is that is his undying loyalty and belief in the cause, and the cause in his mind has always been against the wildlings, and the concept of now having to accept them and
Bring them
unite
in.
with them,
Well,
he could not grasp.
it's tricky because everyone forgets that the wall was not built to keep out the wildlings.
That's what Sam keeps saying.
Yes, the wall was built to fight something that disappeared over 1,000 years ago. So that
Generational forgetting.
yes.
Yeah.
Generational forgetting, so they don't remember that was a problem. They talk about it all, White Walkers and the giant spiders and all myth to them.
Yeah.
It's not myth anymore.
No.
And that's
The
what
only foe that they really see are the wildlings at this point. So
Physically, yeah. I think
And also think about it too, it's not like that. Just think of people they sent to the wall. Back 1,000 years ago, they sent quality soldiers.
yes, it was an
now it's all
honor.
we miss the murderers.
Yeah.
It was an honor to go. This is what your sacrifice was. Basically, it's like give one to the church, give one to
Because back then there were 20 castles along the wall.
Yeah.
sending rapists and murderers. I mean, so about the whole process, you don't want good staff anymore.
Right.
Like the Olive Garden.
Okay, do you want to ask questions?
Yes. Does anybody have any questions? We kind of have been
All right.
rambling.
All right. Well, we have about 10 minutes left, so if there's any things y'all want to talk about, if you
Something to discuss?
any theories, yes.
Melisandre.
Oh
I
yes.
thought the season before last was the worst season.
Oh.
Which For Melisandre or all together?
We're all together.
Okay.
I thought that this last season was kind of like a renaissance.
Yeah.
But I would say Melisandre's one of my least favorite characters. Mainly, she burned a little girl.
That was
Yes.
I can see why you're a fan
And
of the
for
Onion Knight.
what? It was well. I mean,
An
it's
undying belief in faith.
it is tricky with her because as I was like repaying attention to what she sees in the flames, yes, she does see her visions, and her visions have come true, but she's been misinterpreting them, which is
Makes her a buffoon.
yes. And then there's an interesting, well, not really a theory now, just kind of a WTF, is that when Davos found out that she murdered Shireen, he asked her to be executed for murder. But Jon said, in his honor, no, you just ride south.
Oh, and who's coming north from the south that has met Melisandre before?
Oh, yes. And then, remember, Arya met Melisandre in the Riverlands many seasons ago, and Melisandre said, I see a darkness behind your eyes, and we will meet again.
So I think you might get your wish and have her be gotten rid of by Arya.
That is what I believe will happen. Because otherwise, I mean, if her story was officially over, then Jon would have just executed her for murder. But
Interesting possible continuity error that these guys picked up on in their rewatch. So they make a big deal at the beginning of season 6. At the beginning, when Melisandre thinks she's ultimately defeated, Jon is dead, Stannis is dead, everything she later hopes on possibly is dead. She takes off her necklace and she becomes the old haggard crone. She doesn't always wear that necklace in the series.
yeah, but there was when they were on Dragonstone, she was in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a necklace on.
And there
Yes, do we have a theory on that?
Well, I got a good question. And both of these characters are, spoiler alert, dead in the TV show. But I was thinking about, in the book, they're still alive. And I was thinking, what about Rickon and Shireen? Are they, I'm wondering if George is going to have them get married and then...
That'd be cool.
I'd
be cool with that. I'd ship it.
Robert wanted to combine their houses.
Yeah.
And,
But you could get at that in Gendry and Arya in the show, because I'm definitely shipping
But
that.
with Rickon and Shireen, though,
Right
the fact that they're still alive in the books, they may just that they haven't been killed in the books.
Yeah.
Because the show has gone past. But, in terms of Melisandre and her potions, I've read a couple of theories. One that, and I thought, well, she's, taking a bath in magical potions. But also someone else was saying that only a true believer in the faith could see through the glamour. And it was that scene, she was having that scene with...
she had lost all faith.
With Stannis' wife. In the scene with the bathtub, she was having that scene with Stannis' wife, and she was very uncomfortable. And so the theory maybe is that she was seeing through the glamour.
Oh, okay.
We weren't seeing it from her point of view. We were just seeing, It also could have been that they just came up with this cool notion as they were filming season 6.
Right.
Yes,
Could be
you
that
had
too.
a question. Gendry, he's rowing west of Westworld.
He was.
Yes, season 7 is going to start with the Daenerys sailing by and going, oh, pick him up.
We don't know.
He's like, I've been rowing for years.
Honestly,
I mean, but he does know. Melisandre did tell him that he is the son of Robert Baratheon, so he does know his true parentage. And I don't know. My hope is that he'll just find Arya and they'll get together and they'll have Stark Baratheon babies.
I want to see him again because I believe he still has his helm, doesn't he? Does he still have his helm, or did that get lost?
I think they lost that.
Oh, that's right. It got broken.
But that's the only reason you want to get rid of him.
No, he's hot too. But
cool armor.
I think it's really interesting that he is the single Baratheon left. Stannis is dead now. Shireen's been burned at the stake. Right.
Yeah.
And he's the strongest.
Well,
I mean, his strength is...
I have to say, I would have to say in answer to that, does that give him any kind of station? All this focus all through this war and the War of the Five Kings is on Baratheons. You do know they've been kings of King's Landing for one king.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean,
Speaking of that, so I was theorizing what the opening credits for the season premiere is going to look like. Will there still be a Baratheon sigil there, or will there be a lion in King's Landing? But then again, the sigil in King's Landing was always on the Septa Baelor. But that's not there anymore.
There's just a hole with a sigil.
Yeah, so I mean, will we see it like when Winterfell was in ruins? Will we just see this kind of little smoke coming up out of King's Landing or something? I don't know. So I'm hoping to see either a lion or some smoky ruin.
I got a question.
Yes.
When's this guy going to finish the books?
Everyone's been asking that for years. He wrote the last book was published in what, 2011?
Was that late? I thought it was even before that.
Well, there was a long break between the third and fourth book, or
yeah.
because I mean he does have a habit of having a huge break between. There was one set of books that came. There was a long break in this entire publishing.
Because there is a lot to write, but at this point, I mean,
hopefully he has a ghostwriter in the
just
wings.
hire a ghostwriter and let them finish it.
I volunteer as tribute.
He knows how the story is going to end. The show writers know how it's going to end.
I do have a lot of ideas about how the showrunners have conflated characters, conflated storylines. And the only way to see if I have outwitted them, not outwitted them, if I figured them out.
We got 3 minutes left.
Is if we get to read what George R.R. Martin intended. Of course, he intended a trilogy, and it became a septology. So, yeah.
And if you guys want to hear more about our theories on how the show is going to end completely at the very end, we're going to be discussing that at the panel at 6
at our 6 o'clock panel, we're going to discuss ending theories.
And we'd love to hear your theories as well.
Yes, I love theories.
It's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good place to stop our panel right here.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. Let's grab our drinks.
Great. And now our panel has ended. For now.
So we got flyers up here, everybody. If you want to get a flyer or a booth.
If you want to continue geeking out, we will be at our. We're not going to be at our booth. We're going to